Hi, this is Molly with NTV360. Today I am here with Grant Isbell. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Awesome, we are too. So Grant, can you tell me what is your title and what NTV360 franchise are you with?
Yeah, well, my name's Grant. I am a jack of all trades, but I guess I'm the general manager of Maverick Digital with Mason Boswell down in Dallas.
Can you tell me a little bit about your background? Did you do anything in sales or marketing before this role?
I worked in sales at a high-end gym for a while, so very client-facing, kind of similar to what we do here, not so much over the phone. I'm a naturally outgoing person, so those two things kind of like coincide.
Yeah.
And with that, I was given a lot of like marketing responsibility as well, in-house and like in our local community. So that kind of builds some of those like relationship skills and stuff like that.
Definitely, absolutely. So coming into this business without that sales and marketing experience, what did the first couple of weeks look like for you as you're kind of learning everything?
You know, it's funny because I am very outgoing, but there were a couple of moments where you're trying to get through venue partners and stuff like that, the super basic stuff where you're in the parking lot for like 10 minutes trying to like overanalyze it.
Yes.
So there's a lot of learning there, but then when you realize that it's just kind of go in there, make a friend, and the deal will happen in itself, made it 1,000 times easier and just kind of building on my natural outgoing strength. So.
Absolutely, definitely.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a learning process, but this far into things, what does your typical day or week look like, and how do you usually structure that?
So my big days, and like Mason will probably say something similar, I'd say Tuesday through Thursday are prime hours, things going great. Monday is going to be a lot of like back-end appointment setting. So the first part of the day, I'll be on the phone, email, following up on maybe it's a chamber lead, something very kind of monotonous, nothing too crazy. And similar to Fridays, I usually use the back end of a Friday to set up for the following week. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are very big on networking, making intentional visits to whatever it could be. Maybe it's a host location, asking for referrals. Maybe it's a chamber event or a BNI. One-to-one connection, being super, super intentional with my time just because I'm a huge in-person dude.
Yes.
Most mornings of any day of the week are spent researching the day to come. So maybe it's a little detail about a client, remembering if they went on vacation, little thing like that. That way it helps build that relationship when you go in there because they feel special. So
yeah. Absolutely. Now, could you walk me through what does your typical sales process look like? So from, walking into a business and then closing the deal.
Yeah. Obviously it depends on the industry and whether there's a host like idea involved there. But I'm not I wouldn't say I'm an overly pushy type. So if I go in there and the person I need isn't there, I'm not gonna badger. I just go in there, take the little win and get out.
Yeah.
So it's more about asking the right questions, leading with, okay, if Johnny on the spot's not in here today, what does Johnny's schedule look like over the next 3 days? Getting that information, remembering the name of the person you talk to, little tidbits add up over time. And like the deal that I closed just a little while ago, I've only spoken to the actual founding attorney of that firm one time. I've spoken to this other lady 3 or 4 times because I kind of kept building and harping on that relationship with her. So it's a lot of consistent follow-ups. It's a lot of remembering the little details that make them feel special because I think in our business, there's a lot of marketing and sales jobs out there. I mean, you can't argue with that, but especially with doing something locally, if you can separate yourself and develop a personal relationship with someone in the business, whether they're a high influential figure or not, it helps in the long run. So I kind of build that until I get what I need. That's not the right way to say it, but yeah.
No, absolutely. I totally understand. And it's funny that you mentioned like building relationships when you walk into these businesses, because my next question was going to be, you are really, really good at relationship building.
Thank you.
So when you are doing these cold walk-ins, what do you usually do to build trust right off the bat, whether it be with a decision maker, a gatekeeper? What's your strategy there?
Yeah, my biggest thing is I obviously work in sales and marketing, but I don't want to come across as like the sales guy.
Yes.
Which obviously my personality supports that. So kind of fighting a little bit of a thing there. But I always have to remember that I know me, this person doesn't know me. I know my business model, this person doesn't know that. So, and Mason and I have kind of adopted like a mentality lately of just make a friend today. Make a friend in whatever capacity that is. And that's worked out for us a lot. And so like if I'm cold walking into a spot, for example, like we'll say like an HVAC, company or whatever, I had reason to believe the person that I needed to be was in there. Walked in, chatting it up or whatever, and it's just being really casual. Find something that you have in common and build on that like immediately.
Exactly.
The quicker you can build trust and make them feel like you're different than somebody else, it goes a long way, especially since technically the product can be very similar. And so, I mean, I don't know if I'm a people pleaser, but I do just love connecting with others genuinely. And so having that natural ability definitely helps and makes that easier.
Definitely. And I feel like I have been in gatekeeping roles in the past, right? Like I've been a hostess at a restaurant, and I feel like it's so true, walking into that business and trying to build trust immediately, maybe making a joke or giving a compliment. It's huge to getting in touch with that decision maker.
For sure.
Absolutely. Now, how do you typically generate your leads?
Kind of all over the place. I'll admit that can vary a ton depending on what season we're in. A lot of our leads now maybe are coming from like cold work, so maybe it's cold calls, maybe it's just cold outreach, maybe it's cold walking in. Me personally, that's not where I'm best at, but I understand there's value in that. For me personally, I'd say networking a ton. Like all the success that I've had has come from maybe it's consistently being at a certain chamber event, or calling the right person after you met them in a couple hours ago. BNI is huge. Obviously you guys harp on that a ton. BNI is legit. So and going back to that like relationship building strength, especially when you're networking. If you and I leave here today and we're discussing business, something, you go to somebody else and you're like, hey, this guy, talking about XYZ service wasn't really right for me, but I'll admit though, super genuine operation, super nice guy. You can just talk to him, just see what's up. Because that I think is more important than maybe the product itself, because you're working with the person. The product's popular. I like to distinguish myself. I'm not popular. There's not a lot of me. So make the most out of me and have that person understand.
Definitely. Well, my next question was also going to be about, how do you utilize networking events? But even more specifically, when you are at those networking events, how are you usually approaching these business owners in a way that leads to, setting an appointment?
So right now, I only talk to, I only approach somebody if I know there's like a given topic I can talk about. So outside of my personal realm. So for example, at a networking event maybe a week or two ago, there's a guy who works in commercial real estate. Obviously, I would love to speak with somebody on commercial real estate on a personal sense, but I went in there and talked about my dad, who teaches commercial real estate at a local college, and that was the first 5 or 6 minutes of the discussion completely. Then we talked about the client's background and stuff like that, and that built into a 10 to 15 minute conversation. Next thing you know, we're meeting next week to discuss business. And so I think going in there with the personal rapport is obviously very important. Everyone says that, but you have to utilize it in a way where it's not like, oh, I'm just, sticking my foot in here and wait until he bites on something and, trying to be a shark. I think you kind of got to be a little more like a puppy, or honestly like a golden retriever. You have good intentions, but you're also there for a good time, get to know people. And
absolutely.
That makes people feel good and it helps in the long run.
Definitely. Get to know these people on a personal level.
For sure.
I love it. Now, you kind of mentioned a little bit about referrals, people, referring your business, talking about you. You're an easy person to talk with. How do you usually ask for those referrals?
It's, for me, I like to make it worth their time, because, and I think one of the most important things to understand in sales in general outside of this business is that any client you're talking to is probably your priority. That does not mean by any means that you are theirs. And so little things add up. So we have a host that him and I love, is a barbecue guy. And when Jeff and Tyler pitched him, eons ago, he was actually very skeptical, and now he's become one of our biggest supporters. That doesn't happen because Mason and I disappeared for months on end. We go in there, once every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, get lunch, bring a client in, whatever it is, like showing face builds trust. And then when I went in maybe a month and a half ago and I said, hey man, we're at this stage in the business, now that you understand where we're at, I'm really looking to connect with XYZ, the kind of person that if I called them up and I said, hey, so-and-so at blank barbecue, told me to give you a call.
Yeah.
That person goes, oh my God, really? Like they thought of me, and then it kind of gets them invested in the process as well.
Yes.
And so I think kind of building that trust in advance that you really are there to like help them out genuinely. You're not there to just get the dollar.
Yes.
Works a ton in the long run because it is relationships, and that means if you contact a referral, you're indirectly putting the business owner's name on the line as well.
Yes.
If I perform a bad service for that referral, then they're gonna be like, dude, this guy just called me and he's a complete bleep, and so it looks bad on the guy who gave you the referral. I'll say he's a complete asshole. So you don't want that. you don't want that because it looks bad. It looks bad on them, and so I think it's really important that if you provide the service well for the first guy, they're gonna throw you on to anybody else.
Yeah.
Because it also everyone loves to be the guy who knows somebody. So if I go back to them, I say, hey man, thank you so much for that referral. So-and-so goes, kind of puff your chest out a little bit. You're right, I helped you out with that.
Yeah.
Everyone loves that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
No, and I do like that you mentioned that when you do get a referral, you're almost representing the business who also referred you. So just, making sure you're following through with that process and making sure that that referral also has a good experience with you. Really important. Good. Well, my next question is, what type of support does NTV360 offer that has been invaluable to you?
Well, pretty much for everything. First of all, we could go, there's a laundry list of things, and I think with the flexibility that this business model has, there's a lot of questions that can be had. Anyone who knows me knows that I am not afraid to call any of y'all up. I have no problem with that, neither is Mason. And I think it's the willingness and the not one of you guys just answers the question or does it because you have to. You do always like try and remember this, like the help.
Specifics?
Yes, I was gonna say like specificity or whatever. It doesn't matter. You remember the specifics of something that I asked you, weeks in advance, or the little details that add up. Because I think, like, similar to the like quote referral process, like you guys like seeing our success as well. So it brings you guys a little bit of like intrinsic value when we're able to use your knowledge and throw that into our business and it goes well, because you're like, oh my God, like that's awesome, and it gives you guys the motivation to like keep providing that constant and obviously super in-depth support. As far as like client services goes, I call you guys up like maybe twice a day. I have all kinds of creative ideas, and it usually, like if I call Ian, I guarantee he'll say the same thing. I'll be like, Ian, super random question, don't know if you have the answer to it, but here it is. And it could be I think it's super abstract, and you guys are like, oh yeah, and here's how you're gonna handle that. DMS, I do the same thing with packages and pricing and stuff. Like, is there a way to, do this, and, creative. I mean, there's all kinds of back and forth there, trying to create a good product, and they always do really well, and they're super flexible. So, no arguments on the support by any means.
Good. Well, we all absolutely love working with you as well. So that's good to hear.
Please.
Well, what specific tools, trainings, or resources have made the biggest impact on your success?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's in-person training, and like the actual personal like relationship and growth aspect. Yeah. And I say that because Mason and I are in a very blessed scenario to have Tyler down there with us, and so we chat with Tyler a lot on the phone, and like we would talk to any one of you guys, but having somebody down there in the area who, one, I would consider a personal friend of mine, but two, like obviously knows the model, it helps a lot. Mason and I are like sports minded, where we want to be very like coached. And so I think having that kind of, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, you guys legitimately do care about our success. Yeah. You could 100% pull fees, do whatever, do the minimum, and make the corporate office as profitable as you could, and not give a rat's ass about us. Rat's bleep, pardon me. You could 100% do that, and that's what I think the way that a lot of businesses are, and like we've actually seen that in the last couple of months. Some people do just do that. But you guys genuinely love seeing the little wins along the way. You love seeing the, hey, I just closed XYZ deal. Thank you for the help. Like I've called Jeff and Tyler before. Dude, I just got closed this play. Like, I think you guys love hearing those wins.
Yes.
And that's awesome because it doesn't feel like him and I are isolated by 80 people.
Yes.
Like, we really do have this back house team that is there, like the ultimate cheerleaders. It's totally cool. It's awesome.
That is the best thing to hear, because I feel like that's what we're always striving for. And every single person on the client services team has also been in one sales role or another. So we understand how isolating it can be. And so that's the best thing to hear, is that you do feel like you have that support.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Y'all deserve it. Y'all deserve all the pats on the back. Seriously. It's wonderful, and you guys are a pleasure to work with.
Good. Oh, thank you so much. You are too. And my last question for you would be, in your opinion, what separates someone who succeeds in this role as, a general manager, territory manager, whatever it may be, compared to someone who struggles?
I think it's the genuineness of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, there's pros and cons. And I think I'm not a naturally like if you put me on the phone, I will crash out in an hour and a half cold calling people, because I'm not that guy. I'm not the script dude. I'm not the be kind of brash, like your business will fail if you do not. I'm not the guy. Mm-hmm. As funny as the internet is, you want to be, but I'm not. And I think working in local sales, local marketing, local advertising, you have the upper hand of providing the personal relationship to the person. And one of the greatest compliments I think I've received in this process, which we've been at it maybe just a hair over 6 months, 5 months or something like that. And one of the greatest compliments I've gotten was from a client who we originally signed on for a very small deal, very, very small deal. And he called me up 5 weeks after that. And he said, hey, we want to throw on XYZ service, which was worth a significant amount of money. And I asked him, I said, okay, because I presented that, package to him earlier. I said, okay, well, what changed your mind? And he said, well, we knew that he signed with Google Business Profile first. And he said, yeah, we knew it was going to work because we've done something like that before. You guys had a competitive rate, and we liked the way that the proposal was written out and the detail that was put into it. But more importantly, we liked the way that you personally handled. We had a question, you were in a meeting, you didn't call me back, you came and you found me myself. You said you're in the area, you came in, you stopped in my shop to handle the issue, And I think and he's been a good referral, to other people as well. And I think that has been the biggest separator, because it's about building a relationship. It really is. The products, you can throw out to anybody, but knowing that the reason that they've signed on for 10x the value of the original deal was largely based on the way that the treatment that they got from me. That's the ultimate compliment, and it shows that also we're doing something right on our end.
Yes.
You're going about sales the right and the honest and the faithful way, in good
yes.
faith. And I think that's a huge representation of who we want to be as business people, as a business owner in Mason's sense, but also as just men. And I think that's incredibly important to capitalize on.
Absolutely. And I completely agree. I think the main thing that's going to separate someone out from being, an okay general manager to a fantastic one is that relationship building. Yep. And you've been absolutely killing it, both you and Mason at Maverick Digital. You guys have been doing a great job. And I just want to thank you so much again for being on our podcast today. It was so good to speak with you, and thank you again.
Sure. Thank you. Thank y'all for having me.
For more information on becoming an NTV360 franchisee, visit NTV360.com today. Watch us.